Hey ho, what do you know? It is Wednesday and it's time to go for a breakdown. I'm going to break down Sunday and I'm going to update you to what's coming here at Grace Church and how that may affect you, the viewer at home or on the road or at work or wherever it is that you are consuming this content that I'm putting so much thought into. But we'll try and be snappy, like an alligator sandwich. We'll try to be snappy today with what we're doing because I didn't have anything to do with the service last Sunday. Not a thing, not an iota. My dad, Pastor Jerry Foote, preached on Acts chapter 20, Paul's farewell speech to the Ephesian elders, as a way to get us set up all the more for our Ephesians series. We will actually be in Ephesians 1 this week, and I've been preparing for that, so that'll be part of the update to come. But we are going to review a little bit about what happened on the weekend. So on the weekend, it was that sermon, and Joe and Rachel Cross led the music. Rachel is our fiddle player, our violinist, and her dad, Carl Cross, is usually the leader on second week of the month. Carl and Rebecca, his wife, who plays the ebonies and ivories over there on the piano, and Rachel is the violinist. And so it was cool to kind of give her a chance, get her front and center. And it was funny, when I got here on Sunday, I heard them doing the sound check of the opening song, All My Ways, which is a favorite of the Marleys, and it's got kind of that hoedown feel. And I just asked, I'm like, are you going full hoedown? Are you doing full hillbilly? And it was fun to talk to a fiddle player about, we're going to do a nice hillbilly song. And I just like, I'm going to say this, whether or not I like the song, and I wouldn't say that's in my top 10 favorites personally, I like when we go all in on the style. I'm not a huge fan of stiff traditional music. I do like all kinds of music from all eras, but when it's too stiff, I'm a drummer. So I want some groove. I want some movement to it. So if it's very formal and traditional, it doesn't always move me. But like, if you're going to do certain hymns of the good old days, you kind of want the piano and organ making them go. Like A Mighty Fortress Is Our God, or what's another really good hymn? All Creatures of Our God and King. Like, I like that with the organ and the piano. And also, if you're going to do All My Ways, just lean into it. Go hillbilly. And I know sometimes Steve, our great harmonica player, is on that team and gets to, when he plays, I think he's on a different team, but when he plays with the Marleys, sometimes that song gets going so you can get the big harmonica hillbilly thing. Anyway, I dig that. I like, if we're going to say one of our values is authentic worship, and what we really mean by that is that you get to be you when you're here. And we don't want you to pretend that you're somebody else. We want you to really lock into who you are and worship above and beyond maybe your preferences, but with your whole heart. And that comes from John chapter 4, that God is looking for those who worship in spirit and in truth. And it's not about location. It's not about methodology. It's about your heart before God and the Holy Spirit working in you. And that's what we really mean by authentic worship here at Grace Church. But you could certainly apply it, and I think appropriately so. Let the music itself be authentic to itself. And so play it in this genre full on and lean into it the way it is. And so sometimes that means we're going to have an electric guitar or a saxophone or an organ or a fiddle. What we were missing on that song, though, I noticed, was the old washboard. Like, that would have been cool. Anyway, Acts 20, I have preached that before. The joke is, Acts 20 is Paul's farewell to the Ephesian elders, and it is very much historically the sermon pastors preach on their last Sunday with the church. Like, if they're moving or if they're retiring, Acts 20 is kind of where they end up. And so the joke was, when I preached through Acts, when I got to Acts 20, it's like, I didn't think I was going to be resigning or retiring, but it's Acts 20. I guess this is it. I got to go. And of course, that's a joke because I preached Acts about 5 years ago and I'm still here. But I thought in particular, I wanted to not preach last Sunday for one very good reason. And that was, we had our elder retreat on Friday and Saturday. And I thought it would be nice to not have to feel like I'm coming back from that and immediately back in the pulpit. And also, when I knew what passage it was going to be, I thought, I really want my dad to do that, because what better way to reflect the heart of Paul to these people than for an 80-year-old pastor who had served for over 44 years as a pastor to share his wisdom. And when he told me, he said, well, he's like, my passion is the gospel. He said, I think the gospel is what we need to just keep hitting hard, and that it is the answer to everything. It is the only thing we have in our toolbox as a church, and it's unstoppable, and it's the best tool to have in your toolbox. It's what we have to offer the world, and it's what Paul was offering to the Ephesians and reminding the leadership there, it's the gospel. That's what matters. And it can transform not only you and the people that come, but even the wolves that are going to come along. And so I thought that was great. I thought his whole concept of being superfluous, if you heard the sermon, that is going to stick with me for a while. That superfluous, yes, it can mean unnecessary, but it really means the super fluid, the overflow that is extra water. And that idea that, yeah, God doesn't need us, but he fills us such that we become superflowing and superfluous. And that's pretty cool. So I like that. I also liked his gospel centered, which then becomes gospel circumferenced, which then becomes gospel sphered. Did he go three-dimensional, or did he just go area? Anyway, but yeah, expanding on that and the ripples of a circle that go out because the gospel has made an impact, I thought was really cool. So we're going to be referencing a lot of those things as we go through Ephesians, as well as the week before from Acts 19, because we wanted to set the stage of the context historically and also theologically that now the letter of the Ephesians is speaking to. So I'm glad we had time to do that. Big news. I'm going to shift right into the updates here. The Elder Retreat was great, by the way. Thank you for those of you who knew about that and were praying. We didn't come back with any massive changes or anything, but we do have some good ideas, and feel like where the Lord is leading us is good and what he has given us is good. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the business meeting on the 28th of April, which, by the way, one of my updates, the business meeting, the 28th of April, which will happen right after the second service, about 12:15 there on the 28th. So members, be ready to attend and be a part of our votes on budget, new members. And I will be sharing a little bit of an update on some big things that have been going on and where we're headed. And one of the things I'm going to announce right here now, in this moment, pronto, post haste, as it were, to wit, is a big announcement that I'll be able to tell you more about at the meeting if you want to know more of the background. But one of the things that we realized on the Elder Retreat, and this decision had already been done, that I'm going to update you about here in a second. But one of the things we were talking about is how well equipped Grace Church is right now. That we have everything that we need for God to accomplish what he wants to accomplish through our church. And we went through a 6-month process of searching for a worship director. And I'm going to give you a little background on this. Carissa, some of you remember, she was here up to last October doing part-time work with Tanya Marley as 2 part-timers who were making our music ministry happen. And when she finished her time and felt like she needed to spend some more time with her family and stepped away from that in October, we started the process of, you know what, instead of 2 part-time, what we really need is a full-time person to direct the music ministry, and then Tanya help. And they partner, the 2 of them, through a full-time and a part-time position on making our tech and music stuff happen. And Tanya was very happy with that. Well, we did the internal search, we did the external search, we had leads on a really cool friend of mine who I have great respect for, and that turned out to not be what God wanted for us. And so as we were reevaluating, I just had this overwhelming sense of, no, we have what we need. God has equipped us with phenomenal musicians and with great leaders. And one of the principles that we talk about here a lot is the principle of a young eagle, somebody who has the gift that God is going to use in the church, somebody who is called to ministry by the Lord, and needs opportunities and can be developed into a phenomenal future leader. And the deal with young eagles is they are going to fly. They're either going to fly in the church where they start, or they're going to not get the opportunities and the platforms, and they're going to fly somewhere else. Well, we have a young eagle here on our staff currently. And when we put the offer out and the job description out, she said, I don't know if the Lord's calling me to this, but I do have an education in music. I haven't really been serving the music ministry because she's been doing this other job, but I kind of feel like the Lord might be leading me this way. And so we're just like, yeah, you want to expand and grow in your role here. That would be awesome. But let's figure out how this all works. And when it came down to it, I just really felt the Lord leading to say, no, equip the young eagle to be awesome. And we already have her. She's already here. And let's develop her into a great music director. And so I am super excited to formally announce that we made her an offer and she accepted. And so she is now moving from being a part-time director of the base camp ministry under children's ministry to become our new worship director. And this person is Bethany Harvey. And Bethany, if you don't know her, has been with us for a couple years, helping out James with the children's ministry. And now she's going to be moving into our worship director position. And I can't wait to start working with her on a daily basis. If you don't know her, she is amazing. A lot of the parents there, you know her because you check in your kids in our early childhood area, which she has managed so well and run the volunteers back there so well. She is a wonderful, she just has a great heart and attitude, and it's so much fun to be on staff with her. So the thought of working with her now for music is so cool. And what's cool is because my background's in music, as she kind of transitions into this role and figures out being on stage and playing her guitar and her voice is awesome. It's going to be so much fun to kind of help her fly. And I want to encourage you as a congregation of Grace Church to be supportive as well, because this is something that I think God has called her to. This is something he's equipped us as a church to do with her. And the sky's the limit. Speaking of eagles, the sky's the limit, and it's going to be super cool. So she formally starts that new role on May 1st. And that means James is going to be looking for a new early childhood director to work with our base camp kiddos. And so if that interests you, if that's kind of up your alley, please let us know. And Bethany also had been doing some front office work for us at 10 hours a week, and we'll be needing to backfill that as we move her into the new role. So if that interests you, let us know. So cool things are happening with that. And that's a huge win. It's just a huge win for our church, and it's going to be awesome. So that starts May 1st. We'll be doing the kind of overlapping, transitioning pieces of all that, but it's super cool. Also in May, and I mentioned this last week, I was super excited, and I am no less excited about it now. My good hero, I mean, I can't call him my good friend. I've talked to him on the phone a couple times, but my musical hero, Neil Morse, will be here. And I got the dates all wrong last week, and I had like 5 people correct me. So those of you who are calendar watchers, way to go. But the correct date, May 18th, is Saturday night. May 18th is a Saturday night. I'm going to say that a third time while I pull up my calendar to make sure that I'm correct in saying May 18th is the Saturday night. And it'll be 7:30 here. Neil Morse will be doing a solo acoustic concert where he's going to share his testimony and he's going to share the gospel. And you're not going to want to miss it. I'm telling you, I've seen him live several times. I, in 2016, loaded up the family truckster. I got all the kids and Abby and I in the station wagon. Today's version of the station wagon. And we hit the road and drove to Nashville, Tennessee to see a Neil Morse concert. And you think, well, you must have been on another vacation and just kind of used that along the way. No, that's why we left the house, was to drive to Nashville, Tennessee to see a Neil Morse concert. So when I say I'm a big fan, like I'm a huge fan. And he is worth driving across the country to see in concert. So the fact that he's going to do a concert here at Grace Church, I can't tell you how awesome and amazing that is. And you totally need to be here. That's May 18th at 7:30. And you say, great, but is he going to participate in the services on May 19th? And I'd be like, totally. Why wouldn't I invite him to be a part of that? In fact, on May 19th, if we follow the current volunteer schedule, once Bethany is in charge, which I think for May we probably will, I'm leading worship that week. That's one of my weeks. Would I like Neil Morse to be a part of the worship team that day? Let me pray about that. Of course, if he's going to be here, we're going to make use of that. And I've talked to him about that. He loves church ministry. He is such a gospel guy. And when I've talked to him about this, it's so funny. It's like talking to a pastor. It's not like I'm talking to a rock star. He cares about the souls of people. And when I told him, I'm like, well, we should make sure we can promote this well. And our sanctuary seats about 350. We really want to pack the place for you. And he's like, well, do you have any smaller rooms? I'm like, do you not think we'll get 350? He said, well, just in case. I said, well, I care about making sure we have the biggest crowd for you because I'm a huge fan and I don't want to let you down. And he said, I don't care how many people are there. If one person is who the Lord needs me to reach that night, that's all I care about. And I'm just like, oh, yeah. He thinks like a pastor. And anyhow, so of course we're going to have time in the services on May 19th. That's May 19th, the Sunday, where we'll give him some time to play a song or two and to share some of his testimony as well. And so that's going to be pretty cool. And that day, according to our preaching calendar, is when we're in Ephesians 2, 8 through 10. And if you don't know what those are, you should read them. And I think I might have said this last week, all these things that I'm saying now. But if I didn't, now you know. And if I did, thank you for humoring me and pretending that I know what I'm doing. So those are going to be big days. There's a women's event this Saturday at 10 o'clock. Their spring event, which is going to be awesome. If you're a lady, don't forget to come to that and sign up on our church website. So those are the biggies. Bethany, Neil Morris, business meeting, women's event. Yeah. Cool. That's all I got. So normally I kind of end with a weird ending in the middle of a sentence, but since I ran out of things to say, I'm just going to actually